All right. Good Vach, everyone, and welcome. It's a Shabbos. We are schmoozing with Hashem. Um, Sichos Haran. I will share the screen with you. And as I said before, Bez Hashem is Baruch Hashem. Will connect us all and will give us Diburim from Rabbeinu that we need to hear in a way that auspicious for us, that will work for us, that will, it will be beneficial to us, so we can serve the Baruch Hu, each one in his own way. So just put the Sikha up so we can start. All right. Tonight, Sikha is Sikha Mem Vav 46. Rabbeinu says, Tzarech lishma es hamachshava ma'od. You need to guard the thought very diligently. Ki machshava yochel liyos nasa davar chiyuni mash. A machshava can actually create and give birth to a living entity, mamish. Furthermore, in other words, we're sort of like the natural tendency is that being that the machshava is innermost and nobody besides me knows what I'm thinking, or at least it seems that way. So we tend to think that the machshava is a private thing, and it's not a real thing. It's a fleeting thing. It's here. It's gone. It's not a huge deal. Then it says, first of all, you should do machshava can create a real living entity. We know that the mitzvah creates an advocate, a sanegar, and we know that law aleinu and avera creates a kateger, creates a prosecutor. These are all angels. These are all living entities. But it's a thought. What's the big deal? It's I don't know. I'm thinking what I'm thinking. I'm having some fun. What do you want from me? It's like it's just a thought. No, Rabbeinu says that it can actually create a living entity. Furthermore, vada, and you should know that not only is a thought real, that shekol b'china shehu gavoya, any bechina that is higher, more by a person. Okay. Hold on just 1 second. Any bechina that is higher by a person can reach higher and achieve greater things. For instance, imaregel, with the foot, you can kick something. How high can you kick it? Well, imayad, with the hand, you can throw it much higher. Over dibur, in the speech, when you call out, but dibur you can, with the speech, you can talk, to a great distance. And shmir, it's even a higher, more sophisticated, more ephemeral kind of sense. It's even higher. You can hear a voice from a great distance, great distance, like when they're shooting a gun. You can hear from great distance. And the sight can attain and get even higher because with your eyesight you can see the sky. So you find that every bechina, every sense, every sense that we have, that the higher it is, the more it can attain, the higher it can reach. The machshava is extremely high, is extremely high. It's above everything else, and it can attain and reach higher and higher and higher. That's why, that's why it must be guarded, to a very great degree. One of the things that is very important for us to grab with this Indian of the machshava is it gives us a sense of the totality of serving Kadosh Baruch Hu. Many times when a person feels that the thought is just where I am, all by myself, all alone. It is a level where a person can do Averis. It is a common default that sometimes that we bring from a childhood. When the people around us are being either abusive, or we perceive them as being abusive, or perceive them as unsafe for whatever reason. So what we can do is we sort of like retreat into ourselves. And when we are all alone in ourselves, that creates a bubble of safety for us. We disconnect. And in a sense, there is nobody in the world except for me. Now that's a tricky thing, because the truth of the matter is that every person is a whole world. Every person is a full world. So it is really true that inside your world, you're the only one who exists. Everybody else is somebody else. You are only to yourself. You're the only one to do this. It's an instinct to get into your shell. But what happens is that the entire world disappears within your inner working. And when the entire world disappears, you can do Averis because there's nobody there. There's only you. And nobody knows. Rabbeinu says that this is a very dangerous situation. Besides the fact that it's not exactly conducive to the best relationships. And everything, the only thing that you want to do is just you want to push everybody else away if they try to intrude into your inner world. Rabbeinu says that you are operating inside your head in the koyach of a machshava, on the power of thought. With your head, inside your head, you go to various places. You visit feelings, you visit memories, and many times you escape. You escape when you're bored, when um, you lose patience, when you know your attention deficit, basically, gets the better of you, and you just look to shift somewhere else. So every person has, different places where he goes for recreation inside his head. One of the the agonizing things about physical pain or emotional pain is that many times in your mind, you know, you can escape boredom, you can escape feeling of hurt, a feeling of rejection, or whatever it is. You can go to a certain, like a safe place, where there's only you there. Nobody is allowed in. And in there, you can do whatever it is that you want, but when great pain invades, what happens is that, and when depression sets in or whatever it is, there is no place to run. You feel that you're backed into the corner, and you cannot escape. It's a very, very difficult feeling. But the truth is that Hashem is in there. We spoke about it once before. It's important to mention it again because the chelik of your avodas Hashem, and that is that there are levels of being alone. There's the most basic level of being alone, of lo tov heyosa odom levadei. It's not good for a person to be physically alone, to spend his life alone. So, Baruch Hashem, when we get married, we have family, we have friends, whatever it is that we have, and we're not alone. But nevertheless, so there can be another level of aloneness, that you can have people around you, but nobody cares about you, or at least you feel as if nobody cares. You have people around you plenty, but they don't care. As you don't feel like you're surrounded with people that care about you. Loch Batley. So no, nobody cares. So that's a next level of loneliness. And the higher level of loneliness is you have people around you, and the people around you care. But nevertheless, nobody can understand you. Nobody really understands you. We feel like we know our spouses. And to a great degree, we do. We know a lot of things about them. But there's a lot of things that we don't know about them. We really don't know anybody. Truth be told, we don't even know ourselves. But we don't know anybody else. We don't know what it is they think, what's going on behind those eyes. What it is that they feel. Just the way that you feel, the way that you know yourself, as limited as it might be, nobody else knows it. Nobody else knows you that well. But there is somebody who does. And that's HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is with you there. He is all the time with you. And he cares about you. And he understands you. This is why when a person feels that he is in distress, any kind of distress, you can always reach out to Kodesh Baruch Hu. And once you get into the habit of doing this, you'll realize that those situations that you have no way out, the way out is to talk to Kodesh Baruch Hu. Because the Kodesh Baruch Hu is right there. And when you get into it, you'll find out that Kodesh Baruch Hu is good for everything. You can wake up in the morning now, with the corona, whatever it is, so depression, can sneak in very, very sneakily. And you get this feeling of desolation, this feeling of like, there's no time in anything at the end. It's like, what's it all for? There's a certain kind of very bitter despair, feeling of bitterness. It's a very bitter taste. That suddenly you say, oh, what am I doing it for? What is this for? Man, what's the point? You can even get, sometimes a machshava can come out like a burst out, a machshava of avera, a machshava of like, let's say it doesn't matter. Well, there are these kind of wild kind of things that come out, and specifically at this particular point in time. With the corona, it's not an easy time. And the machshava can just go wild. It's extremely important that you know two things. First of all, that you can talk to HaKadosh Baruch Hu about everything. And you should. Whenever it is that you feel that you lose your equilibrium, you lose your balance, your emotional balance, your psychological balance, your physical balance, whatever. If you just go ahead, close yourself in a room and talk to Kodesh Baruch Hu, you'll be amazed. You'll be amazed at how incredibly your situation will improve. But as we said, it's more than just that. When you wake up in the morning and the last thing that you want to do is actually wake up. Don't want to wake up. I want to continue sleeping. It's comfortable. The world is shut out. I don't have to worry about the world. And you get up and you say, something. I'll sleep for another half an hour. Something like that, a minute to catch or whatever. Whatever. And you realize that's not how I want to live my life. But you can't move. You can't do it. You feel that it's too big on you. It's beyond you. And it could be for anything. Waking up in the morning, looking where you're not supposed to look, whatever it is. You can talk to Hashem. Hashem is great for everything. If you cannot wake up, you cannot go wake up before you go to sleep. You ask Kodesh Baruch Hu, please help you wake up in the morning. And once you wake up, if you have a problem getting up, it's no problem. The minute that you wake up and you don't feel like getting out of it, you just ask Kodesh Baruch Hu, help me get out of bed. Before you know it, you'll be out of bed. And it goes on and on and on. Tov Hashem L'Kol. Hashem is good for everything. But you should know that the very same way that Hashem is always with you in your machshava, Hashem is always in you with your machshava also when you're going sightseeing, when you're projecting a movie in your mind. It doesn't matter what age you are. It doesn't matter how people see you from the outside. Only you know what's going on in your mind. Because in your mind, you can be 3 years old, and you can be 7-year-old, and you can be 13, and you can be 19. You can be 27 and 35 and 40 and whatever it is that you want to be. And you're there. And you're absolutely there. And the HaKadosh Baruch Hu is there. And the machshava that level of thought is not just like, listen, because Baruch Hu is saying, you know something, I'm watching you. It's not just that. That level of machshava is the highest of all your senses. In a sense, that which looks the most ethereal and ephemeral and like, it's not really real, it's not mamish. This is the highest of all the senses. And it actually creates realities. And so you should be very careful about that. Our avodas Hashem starts with the thought. And with this, what I'd like to do is I'd like to introduce the next Sicha in Sichos Haran, because they're sort of like, they're tied together in a way. I mean, they're talking, they're continuation of the same principle. This is Sicha Mem Zayin, and he says as follows: Tzarich lezechia gdoilo. Person needs to be very fortunate. Sheizke leyashev atzmo isha achas b'yom, that he will able to reflect to himself 1 hour a day. V'shelo charata al ma shetzrichim lischaret, and should have regret on whatever it is you need to regret. Kilav kol echad zoich leyashev adas eze shah b'yom. Not every person merits to actually reflect 1 time a day, to have a presence of mind, find out where in the world am I. The day passes, it's gone. It's past, it slips away. A person doesn't have time to actually settle down and reflect even once in his lifetime. A person needs to be very stubborn and very forceful about this. A person should spare a certain time and actually reflect well into yourself. Al kol mas, of everything you should do in this world. Machshava dibur v'maisa. Is it actually befitting for us to pass our days with such deeds? Since a person does not miyashav himself, does not sit and think, pushes away the distractions and actually concentrate on what's going on, where am I in the world? Ve'en lo das. And because of this, he has no das, he doesn't have a seichel, he doesn't get where he is. Even sometimes he has some kind of a presence of mind. This stable, sensible das lasts for a long time. Immediately the das passes away from him. And that little das that the person has, it's not really, a pillar that that overcomes all the other obstacles. It doesn't last. Because of that, people do not understand the nonsense of this world. If a person had, a well-balanced presence, well-calculated, strong and resolute mind, he'll understand that everything is nonsense. That type that some people have, to be famous and to lead people, in Medina, to travel. Everything is nonsense. It's shtus. It's a real shtus. The truth is, it's no pleasure, and there's no pleasure in even this world. Because this world, this world is full with suffering and with degradation. Rabbeinu admonished one of his people. He wanted to be a leader. And he told him, even Birkas Hamazon you won't be able to say, Erlich. Why? Everything that you do, you will have to aim, that people will accept it, people will like it. You won't be able to do even a small little mitzvah l'shem shamayim. This particular Sicha is, a continuation of the Sicha from before. The fact that you have to hold a machshava. I had a little conversation with my wife today, and we read some Sichos Haran, which, if possible, I would like, at the end, before we shut off, I'd like to, share with you, hopefully, on Motzei Shabbos, a little bit, some very, very short stories from Sichos Haran, of Rabbeinu specifically. And this is something that I've gotten into the habit of doing this with my wife, and we find it is very inspirational, very connects, a great contact, connection to Rabbeinu. But we spoke about, we were in a Levaya this passing week of a father of a friend that used to come to the show before he moved away, the father of Eli Farkas. And we were there. And when I came back, I spoke, so today, this afternoon, I spoke to my wife about this. And I told her, when I saw that they put him in the ground and they cover it up. So I told her, what's the difference between a state of sleep and a state of awakeness and Olam Haba? We say that in the union of sleep this is a state where there is no das. There's no das. The state of sleep, night, is all emuna. This is very, it coincides, dovetails very beautifully with Parshas Shavua, Yaakov, this whole thing with Lavan, this union of night. Yaakov Avinu fixes Tfilas Maariv, scene of dealing with night when the das goes away. So sleep is really a state where there is very, very little das, only remnants of das. A deeper sleep, like Lo Aleinu, induced coma, whatever it is, or even when somebody is just anesthesia, it's a state where there's no das at all. So when there's no das at all, there's no time at all. So if you go to a dentist to have some kind of a dental surgery or whatever it is, and they put you to sleep, it can seem like you fall asleep and you wake up a minute later and they already did the whole thing. It took up a few hours or whatever it is. Just like no time passed at all. And because there's no das whatsoever. In sleep, there's remnants of das, so there is some kind of sense of existence, but nevertheless, it's very mebulbal. The state of awakenedness is a state where you have das, but that particular state is very precarious, as Rabbeinu says in this particular Sicha. It's a state where there are a lot of distractions. This world is the world of distractions. The whole thing is based on distractions and overcoming distractions. And therefore, the mind travels and is being distracted from one thing to the next. Now you got to take care of this. Now you got to run errands, and now you have to worry about parnasa. Now you have to do this, and you have to do that. And the thing is that in this world, being that we can only pay attention to one thing at a time, even though we do perceive the entire world. We see everything, and everything is being recorded. With hypnosis, you can get there, but we can't. We can't work with so many multitasking like that. We can't do that. So the das is jumping from this to this, from this to this, from this to this. So as well, we have shortcuts. The shortcuts is when we put the koch hamedama in, and we borrow opinions from other people, and we sort of like learn different signals that we believe to. Like if you hear the announcer that comes on the news, so they have the whatever music that they play before and the kind of tone that they use. It all comes to induce believability, and people learn to trust it. You can hear the biggest lies in the world, total fake news, but nevertheless, it's a shortcut. You can't look after everything. You can't investigate everything. You have to be able to take things on face value. And so people borrow these things, these kind of emunas, this kind of deis, this kind of opinions, and just travel with it. And get angry at things, they get passionate about things, they get whatever, but the whole thing is a shtus, because there's never a state where the das is really miyushav. What does it mean the das is miyushav? It means that you push away all those distractions. You just take a look at life. What is it? Where did I come from? What is happening to me? Where am I going? What should I really be looking at? What I shouldn't be looking at? What should I do tshuva on? What should I regret? No time for that. The state of Olam Haba is a state where all the distractions go away. It's a state of total awareness, total das. So that awareness for somebody who has actually worked on Yishuv Das in this world and had made tshuva, whatever it is he had to do tshuva, and accepted whatever came from Kodesh Baruch Hu be'ahava, and whatever it is, the sichos that we do, whatever it is Rabbeinu instructs us, when all the distractions fall off and there's just big das, that's it. You see everything. You understand and you see everything. For one person, this is Gan Eden. The same thing for another person is Gehenna. It's the same thing. One person kept tabs on himself, had the time to be miyasher himself once a day. What am I doing? What am I doing? What am I doing with my time? What did I do with my time in my youth? How am I, just like, this is what makes me comfortable, what doesn't make me comfortable, how do I make things work, how do I make things work? But actually what's, how to, have a, so when all the distractions fall off, that is Gan Eden. But when a person was floating from one distraction to the next, when the body falls off, when the limitations of nervous system are eliminated, what you get is something called kafakela. What is kafakela? Kafakela, when a person takes a look at his life, and from this distraction to that distraction, from this end of the world to the next end of the world. Now I did this, and now I did that, and now I had this in mind. Now this was my hobby. Now this was, and this is the football team that I supported, and this is the kind of food I like to eat, and this is the kind of color that I wanted to have from people, and you just thrown all over the place. It's a huge, huge balagan. So that's what Rabbeinu says. What we're trying to do, we're trying to be miyashav ourselves, to understand, to overcome these distractions. And in Sicha Mevav, he says it starts with the machshava. Don't think that there is a place which is ex territory. It's like an embassy in a country. It doesn't belong to the country. This is the U.S. embassy in Iraq is USA. It's not Iraq. It's ex territory. No, there's no such thing. Because is absolutely everywhere, and everything counts, and machshava counts more than anything else. You got to be miyashav yourself, because olam haba is already here. It's just disguised with by the distractions. The only thing that happens, the distractions fall off. That's it. 120 years, that's it. The good stuff is that those distractions make the mitzvahs worth what they're worth, because you have a nisayon. So there's a tremendous opportunity. There's tremendous danger. Just something to keep in mind. I'd like to, finish with a little, reading from, it can be the B'Shirav, it can be just a second. Let's just take a quick look here. We're talking, as you know, Rabbeinu says that he was not allowed to perform miracles. He said if he were allowed to perform miracles, there would be absolutely no bechira. Everybody would know that he's a tzaddik emes, and there would be no choice. So whenever it is that he would do a miracle, Rabbeinu would pray that people will forget it. So most of the things that he did that were, out of nature were forgotten, but certain things were written down. So, and they're so different from the regular miracle stories of Hasidim, and you'll be able to hear the difference. And it creates the authenticity of what's going on here is incredible, and you'll be able to feel, at least I feel that, a tremendous closeness to Rabbeinu and tremendous awe from Rabbeinu. So just a little bit Rosh Prakim. So Reb Tzvi, Rabbeinu's brother-in-law, was sitting in Turin, and he was doing business. He was working for business all his life. And once he was arguing with a person whether Rabbeinu knew the thoughts of the people who stand before him. And that person proved that Rabbeinu Zal knows that too. At that particular time, his brother-in-law, Rabbeinu's brother-in-law, Reb Tzvi, he was very pressed for parnasa. And he was so pressed that he accepted upon himself that he's going to go to Rabbeinu and ask Rabbeinu to daven for him. And closely afterwards, Rabbeinu came to Turin. That's what Rabbeinu Darko B'Kodesh was, to travel twice a year to Turin. And immediately when he came there, all Anash came to receive his holy face. And his brother Reb Tzvi also were with the people, and Rabbeinu spoke with them with tremendous, sweet deburim, that everybody was pulled into Avodas Hashem. Rabbeinu was magnetic. Rabbeinu is and he spoke with them with such a sicha and a flow that everybody was like totally like going out of their minds with Cyrus. And his brother-in-law waited until the Sikha ended. And at the end, he just stayed by himself. And he wanted to go to the door and close the door and be alone with Rabbeinu and whisper to him about the Parnasa. Now, the way of Reb Tzvi was all this, his brother-in-law, was always, before he did something, he was miyasher himself. Should he do it? Shouldn't he do it? Whatever he need to do. Now, when he prepared himself to go to the door, he became very embarrassed by himself, between him and himself. And he says, what kind of panim will I have now to mention Rabbeinu about Parnasa after immediately, it was a gewaldige sicha on the shtus and the insanity of all these worlds in Yanim. And he was absolutely certain Rabbeinu is going to admonish him. Well, is it possible, to close your heart so much, from Yis Hashem, that after such a sicha, you have nothing more to tell me except to whisper in my ear about Parnasa? And because of that machshava, he wasn't, there. He got stuck. He didn't know what to do. To go back, not to go back, what to do. And he didn't go to the door. And then he started thinking, just a second, maybe Rabbeinu knows what I'm thinking, because that was his conversation with this other chassid. So if he does know, he knows that after this entire sicha, I have nothing in my mind except, to mention him about Parnasa. And the only reason why I stopped is because I'm embarrassed from him. So he doesn't admonish me. So I'm only making myself as if I'm, I have awe from him and I'm afraid of him, and Gnevas Das, I'm like cheating him. And it's a very untoward thing. And immediately when he thought this, Rabbeinu told him, and he says, for you, I already took care of it. Your brother Moshe will be extremely poor. And your Chaimel, is a big Rahmanas, because he won't have even flour for Shabbos. And this is exactly the way it came for them all their lives, exactly the way Rabbeinu told them. And this I heard from his son, Rabbi Yaakov, that heard it a few times from his own father. Just a little story. Rabbeinu Zal, what's a Shabbos? They say it's a great thing to say stories from Baal Shem Tov Motzei Shabbos. It's definitely that Hashem will say those too, but saying a ma'aseh from Rabbeinu is a gavaldig gazach. So, B'ezrat Hashem, I want to wish all of you a good voch, and B'ezrat Hashem, anybody who can be with us on Monday night will learn Sipurei Maisius, and B'ezrat Hashem will have a good time. Thank you very much. You should have a gebench tevoch, a gesund tevoch, a freilich tevoch, kol tov to you and everybody else. Tzlach Rabo and a good week. Kol tov.